Oh Lord.
And we are live. Good evening. Welcome to Sistabiz. My name is Tamara. I'm joined by my co-host Nicole Orr and our special guest Brenda Sanders. Um,
Hello.
Hi. So I don't know where to start with Brenda. I do want to, Brenda. Why don't you tell us about yourself, all the things that you're doing, and
Oh, wow.
I tried to put them all in the intro, but I left some things out surprisingly. So,
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I am Brenda Sanders. I am a food justice activist in Baltimore City. And I have several different projects that I'm working on that have to do with food and the food system. One of which is Afro Vegan Society, which is a national nonprofit organization that's working to provide resources and support to help people in marginalized communities to learn more about plant-based eating and vegan living and help people to transition who are ready to transition to being vegan. So, and that is mostly online, like programming and events right now, especially with the pandemic. Um, Pre-COVID days, I also was co-founder of Thrive Baltimore Community Resource Center, which is located in the Station North community of Baltimore. And that is a community center that we started back in 2017. And we would do a lot of similar programming, but just like in person. So lots of big events and programs, classes, workshops. We would screen films and all kinds of stuff. So, and at one point we were doing stuff there like every day. It seemed like some kind of programming. So we have built a nice community around that. And then also with Naja Wright Brown, co-owner of the Land of Kush, I organize Vegan Soul Fest each year. So that's our baby. Um, Great festival. We actually have started the 2022 planning for Vegan Soul Fest, and it is going to be off the chain. I mean, like, just we have this amazing company that we brought in called Three Pillars. They're a management company, and they are just getting us ready to take this festival to a whole nother level. So, a lot of music, a lot of food, a lot of other programming is going to be. We're looking at upwards of 100,000 people
wow,
that
I'm excited
we
about that. Like that's how
yeah.
I first found out about you was hunting down that Vegan Soul Festival a few years
Oh,
ago when I was first
yes.
becoming vegan. So I'm excited to hear
Okay.
that's coming back. I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was
Vegan
all
Soul
in the
Fest.
comments like, how do I get there? What's going on? I was bugging you.
Yeah, I mean, and Vegan Soul Fest has grown so much from the first year was 2014. And we were just hoping, Naja and I were just hoping that maybe we could bring out, a few hundred people, and 1,200 people showed up down at the Baltimore Cultural Arts Center. And we like were busting out the seams. And then it just got bigger and bigger. We moved it. We were at BCCC, Liberty Campus. We were at Clifton Park, and now we are looking at Carroll Park, which is in Pigtown. So that's pretty exciting because that's in close proximity to my other project, which is the Greener Kitchen, which is a plant-based deli and market that I co-own. And that's on Main Street on Washington Boulevard. And out of that space, the goal is to make plant-based food accessible and affordable. Because, a lot of people see vegan food as, just either being a white thing, or even for the folks who don't necessarily see it as white, they still see it as something that only rich people can afford. And that's for a reason. A lot of the plant-based foods that are out there on the market, especially like the meat substitutes and the cheese substitutes and all of that kind of stuff, it can be pricey. And so my goal has always been to make sure that everybody could access this food, because everybody deserves to be able to access plant-based food and healthy plant-based food as well. And right now, the way that the food system is set up, it's just not that way. It's really stacked against poor communities of color. And so my goal is to try to balance those scales. So, yeah. And gosh, what else am I doing?
We got Vegan Soul Fest, Afro Vegan
Society, yes.
Afro Vegan Society, Greener Kitchen.
And Baltimore. Oh, and then the podcast is new.
Yes, your podcast.
Yeah, so that Food and Justice podcast is it's a new project that I took on. I was not planning on having a podcast. Like like I really have spare time, but when this organization came to me and asked me to do it in conjunction with a campaign that's called Defund Big Meat, and it's a campaign to try to get a lot of the subsidies, the government subsidies that are being poured into the meat industry, to instead be redirected to healthier foods, to, like fruits and vegetables and, different kinds of programs and stuff that can make those foods available to people who don't really have access to them. So it's a worthy campaign. And I thought that it would be good for me to be able to connect with people all over the country. And I've even connected with people around the world who are doing work on the food system itself. In all different, it's been a great experience. It really has. I've met people from, folks who are working in the prison system and trying to change the food system in prisons, to people who are working at the urban gardening level, to people working at the policy level, government agencies, just all kinds of people who are, we all have the same goal, which is to fix the current food system and make it more just and more equitable. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what you talk about when you talk about food justice, right?
Yes.
Yes. So Nicole and I actually have samples. Great samples.
I have like one.
Well, I have some samples.
So I'm not going to show mine.
The vegan wings are phenomenal. Yeah, I have barbecue. I've got the regular, and I did Thai. I just sent you barbecue, Nicole, because you said specifically. And I can't just get one. I'm addicted to the wings there, I will admit.
Oh my gosh.
And so part of my vegan journey, and I want you to talk about that. A lot of people think that vegans, when they look at me, they're like, they think vegan, like one of my close friends even said when I was like, hey, why don't you try this? He's like, I'm not trying to lose weight. People think veganism is just about dieting and losing weight, and clearly it is not. Why don't you explain that, like what veganism really is and what got you to where you are in this? It's not a movement, it's a lifestyle. Right. What brought you to this level?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been quite a journey. I mean, this has been 24 years, actually. Next year will be my 25 vegan anniversary. And so it's so first starting out, it was for a completely different reason. And it's just sort of evolved into where I am now. And I think it's that way for a lot of people where, they start out for one particular reason. For me, I was young, so I had stumbled across this sort of like sacred body, your body is a temple kind of lifestyle, like spiritual kind of thing. And the folks were saying, like, when you eat these animals, you're taking in like all their fear and their pain, and and you're taking in that energy. And I was just like, ooh, I don't want to do that. And it made sense, at the time. And I was like, well, I wasn't big on cooking or anything at that point yet anyway. And so I sort of learned how to cook as a vegan. And I would say that I am very good at it now.
5 years ago, the options weren't what they are today. I know.
Oh, wow.
I think I tried my son and I tried, actually, we read a book called Skinny Bitch. And I was never a big meat eater. I never ate really beef or pork. So like chicken, there was just a few things, outliers that I thought I couldn't stop. But once I read that, we were like, oh no. So we tried it, but we found that the variety and the substitutes weren't there like 12, 13 years ago when we did try it, as they are now. So what has spawned this like huge movement? Like everything, you can go everywhere now and find a vegan option. What do you think?
I have some answers to that. I think that it's activism, to be honest. And people ask me this all the time. And you know, there was a study that came out a few years ago that said that African Americans are the fastest growing group of people, you know, transitioning to vegan right now. Like there's more Black people who are vegan than any other group of people right now. And especially like transitioning, you know, and I see it. You know, I've never encountered so many people at any one time who are interested in finding out more about this. And it's for a lot of different reasons. For me, it was my connection to like, you know, everything else around me and the planet and, you know, the other creatures on the planet. For a lot of people, it is about their own personal health. And I think that that's beautiful. I do. I think that, you know, self-care and, you know, just having self-interest and wanting to be as well and as healthy as you can possibly be. I mean, I commend people for taking that step because, you know, a lot of people never do. You know, a lot of people, they just suffer and suffer and suffer until the day that they die. And it's, you know, even people in my family, people in my life, through my work, I've touched a lot of lives. I have had thousands of people go through my programs and classes and workshops and stuff. And yet the people who in my family who were closest to me are the ones who never transitioned. You know, my mom ended up passing away from heart disease. And that was so painful for me because, you know, if you knew how many people stood up at the end of one of my 4-week programs and said, you changed my life. This program changed my life, you know, and I've heard these stories of people coming off of their prescription medicines and clearing up their, you know, health conditions and stuff. And, you know, and just knowing that will never be able to happen for, you know, people in my family. And you know, it's hard to think about, but it's a wonderful thing when I see that people are interested in improving their lives in that way. But again, it's not even just about that. I mean, there's so many things that the vegan lifestyle has the potential to address, right? So we're talking climate change. We're talking environmental issues, you know, environmental justice issues. We're talking, you know, air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution. I mean, the animal agriculture industries that have grown to the point where they are now are destroying this planet. That is point blank, period. Right? So anybody who has concerns about the climate, anybody who has concerns about the environment, about there being a planet for their children, for their grandchildren, anybody who has any kinds of concerns about that needs to look into the meat industry, the dairy industry. I'm talking about pork. I'm talking about beef. You know, I'm talking about chicken right here on the eastern shore of Maryland. These chicken farms, you know, that have upwards of 50,000, 100,000 chickens, they are polluting the Chesapeake Bay right now. You know, we have all kinds of issues, you know, that are being caused by animal agriculture because it has grown into this behemoth, you know, this monster that is now out of control. It really is.
Yeah, it has. I've heard about the issues on the Eastern Shore. I think there's a lot of talk. I'm surprised there hasn't been a class action lawsuit from some of the health issues that I think that, you know, and it's a lot of us that are over in the Eastern Shore working in this.
Always.
Yes.
Always. It's always all of these facilities. These are called CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations. These operations that have anywhere from 10,000 animals to 50,000, 100,000. They generally will build their facilities in areas where low income Black and brown people live, because they understand that they can get away with it. They know that they can get away with it. They try to go and put their facility in some, affluent white rural community. The city council is going to vote that out immediately. And that's what happens. And that's why they end up building these facilities like down in North Carolina and, on our Eastern Shore and other places.
Yeah.
They build these facilities where poor people of color live, because we tend to be less empowered to stop these facilities from being built.
Right.
And they are monstrous. I mean, I was recently featured in a film called They're Trying to Kill Us.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and in that film, they talk about this rural community in North Carolina, outside of a Smithfield facility, huge facility. The Black people who live in the community, they have all kinds of respiratory issues, all kinds of cancers. They actually went into their homes. They took scientists into these folks' homes and just took a swab and went around and swabbed different parts of their house. They found pig feces everywhere, on the children's toys, in the kitchen, in the bathrooms, kitchens, everywhere. Pig feces, because they, these animals produce an enormous amount of fecal matter. And they've come up with what they feel like is innovative ways of dealing with this fecal matter. One of those ways being to spray raw sewage into the fields around their facilities. That stuff gets airborne and gets carried into people's homes. You drive into the town, it smells like feces. I mean, this is the way that, and we're not having to deal with that. We're up here eating our pork chops and ham sandwiches or whatever, not even thinking about the fact that there are children down in North Carolina, having asthma attacks right now because they live in close proximity to Smithfield's, animal facility. So it's
and again, it's not talked about as much,
No.
because it's our children, and
no,
yeah,
they don't care.
That's another issue. So yeah, that They're Trying to Kill Us, it was a documentary on Netflix, and you had a really good thing going on where you were giving, if you were going to show the film, and you were giving out some free vegan food to show during the premiere, right?
Yes. So it's not on Netflix though.
It's not on Netflix?
It's not on Netflix, not yet. They are actually streaming it from their website, from the They're Trying to Kill Us website. Yeah. It's a whole story. It's a whole story about why it's not on Netflix.
I better change that. So it's not on Netflix. Okay.
No, it's not streaming on Netflix. I mean, Netflix could still pick it up. So the more people who download it, from the website, the more interest that that is shown in it, then I'm hoping that it's still a possibility. But
okay. So I wanted to also talk about something that you mentioned briefly is, a lot of people think that veganism is a white thing. I personally there's so many Black owned vegan restaurants just in Baltimore alone, in the DC area. It's very, very refreshing to see. But I do want to talk about that. Even when I mentioned interviewing you, you were saying you don't get interviewed by a lot of Black women. And so there was this stigma when I told my family, and culturally, my family's from Panama, and they eat their, this time of year, they're going to make that pork leg or whatever. I never ate it as a child, but it's like a lot of pork, a lot of beef. And it was like, vegan? Like, what you mean you're not eating meat? What's wrong with you? I'm kind of looked at as I'm weird. Something's wrong with me. But you're saying that more African Americans are vegan. And I do believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's looked at as a white thing. And it really isn't. And I think culturally, even going back, a lot of our ancestors probably did not participate. So when I think of a European diet, I think of potatoes and big pieces of meat. When I think of our diet, I think more of, when I think of our real diet, I think of fish and things like that. Not so heavy on the meat. So explain the Black vegan, like, it seems like there's a Black vegan movement going on, and it is part of activism. Just talk about that a little more. And your run-ins, because I see on Facebook you talk to a lot of white vegans, kind of make comments to you, and they kind of agitate you. I didn't want to get into it and read them, but just let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'll be showing out. So yeah, it's seen as a white thing. One of the main reasons why veganism is seen as a white thing is the animal rights aspect, right? Because a lot of Black folks don't really get into that, and not, I mean, I know a lot of Black animal rights activists. I do. And like, we all stick together, because like being in those animal rights spaces, it's they are very white spaces. So you can imagine that there's a lot of racism. And so, anybody who's moving in those spaces, and I do, a lot of my funding actually comes through the animal rights movement, because they see, me bringing vegan education to Black folks as being much better than white people trying to bring vegan education to Black folks. And it's true. It should definitely come from us. And so I do find myself in animal rights spaces quite a bit. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's like a Wild West.
So wait a minute. You have this group of people that are animal rights activists, but there's racism?
What?
We don't have healthy food in the hoods.
I'm just saying, but there's racism with animal rights. I mean, you care about an animal's rights and you don't care about human rights.
They care more about dogs than they do Black people.
Yeah, well, I would say it's a privilege to be able to care about animals, right? And I do. I care about what happens to animals, and that's something that has developed over time, though. So I didn't start out there. I started out as kind of like this woo-woo, like, all living creatures, but it wasn't like specific to animals. And then like over time, as I learned more about like what we're doing to animals, especially in the food system, I mean, it's just straight up like torture and mutilation, and just, it's the most disgusting stuff that if y'all don't know about it, it's not for the weak of stomach, right? It's real, like we really do some like depraved stuff to animals in the food system.
It is disgusting. And I know people, when I try to present a documentary to them to watch, to educate, most people will tell you, I'd rather not know. They'd rather not know what they're putting in their mouths. What I also find interesting, and I'm dealing with people in our community when I try to approach and say, why don't you try this, vegan sausage or something? It's like, what's in that? And I'm like, but it's vegetables. It's not a dead animal. They're like, what do you eat? And then I get well, it's made of this and that. And I get all this lecturing about what's probably in it. And I'm like, but you're eating a dead animal and you're arguing me down about, I don't know, what's inside of this vegetable-based sausage, but you're eating a pig. And, it's just amazing to me how people are so afraid to eat something that's not made of a living animal that was alive. Do you find
I don't blame anybody, right? And I know you don't either. I blame the systems, right? So these industries keep this information away from people. They keep it, how they say if slaughterhouses had glass walls, then everyone would be a vegetarian. I mean, like they keep this information, everything about what goes into these industries, what is happening to these animals, what is happening to these people who are killing these animals. Because one of the things that folks don't realize is that slaughterhouse workers have one of the highest suicide rates of all industries, and one of the highest domestic violence rates, because they are dealing in violence day in and day out, all day long. They have 100% turnover rate, meaning they will, some of the slaughterhouses down near the border will actually have vans set up at the border. And as people cross the border, they will just pile them into the vans and drop them straight to the slaughterhouse. And almost 100% of the people quit the first night. So every night they got to go back and get new people. It is a horrible thing to be killing living creatures all night, every night for your job.
I can imagine as I progressed through my vegan lifestyle, I did recognize that my sensitivity to animals heightened as I stopped eating them. And I became very sensitive to animals. So I think there's something with that. And just, I couldn't imagine killing an animal just to eat it. So,
most of us couldn't.
Yeah.
Most of us couldn't. Now, of course, there are people who, live a more like quote unquote traditional lifestyle. I meet people all the time who are like, well, yeah, in my village where I grew up, we would wring the chicken's neck and pull the head off. Like you hear that kind of stuff all the time. But I'm talking about like everyday Baltimore people. We're not out here bashing animals over the head, slitting their throats, cutting them up. We're not doing all of that. We're dealing with the bodies after all of that has been done. And most of us, if we were walking down the street and you saw somebody in the middle of the street beating the heck out of a cow or a pig or something, you would be like, stop. What are you doing? Like, stop doing that. Like, why are you beating that pig? But everything, all of the violence is hidden from us. And for me, I am a food justice activist, meaning my goal is to change the food system itself, right? So I wouldn't say that I'm like an animal rights activist. I wouldn't even necessarily say that I am a social justice activist. Like I'm just fighting for everybody. I'm just like, look, we have to fix this world. We have to fix, the systems, the industries themselves, right? The institutions themselves. And so, that's why it's kind of seen, veganism is kind of seen as a white thing, because like a lot of folks who live a more marginalized existence, like we got to fight for every little thing. We don't really have time to be going all the way over here and fighting for some cows or, some pigs or whatever. I'm glad somebody is, because like, y'all don't, oh my gosh, like it's bad. It's just terrible. I'm embarrassed at the kinds of stuff that we do to animals. It's embarrassing to me as a human. It's real bad. Like I could send y'all some articles, but it's it's really, really bad. Like, because you're mechanizing a system, that it started with like a person like caring for a creature, right? So like old McDonald's farm or whatever, where it was just like a farmer and, an animal, who had his animals, and there was this exchange and this interaction. Now you want to like industrialize that. Well, you can't industrialize it without building in some pretty like cruel stuff, because everything has to be quicker, faster, more, bigger for more money. Right. And with anything that you mechanize like that, the clothing industry, the food, like anything, something's gonna suffer. And usually it's people, usually it's the workers. And certainly if you're talking about farming animals, then the animals are gonna suffer the most. And so yeah, the vegan.
It's a cruel society. It's a cruel culture.
It is. I mean, the food system as it is, it's built on violence, right? So violence has to be done to these animals in order to have this end product, this meat, this, dairy, this eggs or whatever. And then, so I'm trying to create a plant-based food system. And of course, you have some of the same issues, especially when it comes to like workers' rights and making sure that people aren't being exploited in a plant-based food system, because there's all kinds of examples of human beings being exploited, for vegan food. And so we need to be dealing with that stuff as well, right? Because we don't want to just recreate the same horrible systems, that we're trying to push back against. So
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten off track. I'm so
No,
sorry.
absolutely not. I wanted to talk briefly about, because I look at this, the vegan lifestyle, there's like this classism, almost separatism. There's the raw vegans that have a problem with people, and people will say, oh, you eating all that processed food. Again, the people that eat swine and all kinds of other stuff have everything to say about, you eating a processed food while they're eating a processed hot dog that's processed with animals.
Right.
I'm going to stop shaming, and I'm just going to say, can you explain these there's so many different types of vegans. There's the raw vegan, and there's the vegan that, there's the junk food vegan that just eats a lot of junk and there's no nutrition there. But that raw vegan, I haven't tried it. I've been on a cleanse. It's been a raw diet, but it's very difficult. Do you see some differences in some classism and groupism in the vegan lifestyle?
Of course. Of course. I mean, there's always going to be cliques. There's always going to be folks who want to sort of, cluster together, and we're over here doing this and they're doing that. I think that might be human nature. Certainly it is Black folks' nature. I mean, we are tribal people. We recreate those tribes over and over again. But yeah, I think they're probably, so the word vegan, right? It is a very specific, there's a very specific definition for the word vegan. Now, of course, the concept of abstaining from animal products existed way before the 1940s, when this word vegan was coined, and it was a type of vegetarian, that doesn't partake of milk and eggs and other animal products, right? So it is about abstaining from the consumption of the product of animals, right? That is the definition. And then, so within that, there's a lot of different ways to eat, right? And so there are folks who are much more concerned about having optimal health. And then there are folks who are just not really concerned about having optimal health. They just don't want to consume animal products. And that would be the junk food vegan. I did raw vegan for 3 months, and that was the healthiest I've ever been in my life. I mean, it was amazing. I thought
anything. Everything is just raw fruits and vegetables.
Everything was raw. Everything was 100% raw. I did it actually when I was living in LA, and it was a lot easier out there. Okay. Because there you can actually purchase raw food from stores and stuff, raw vegan food. And I had a lot more time, I think, during that point in my life, so I could prepare these elaborate, just raw burgers and raw pizza and all this creative stuff. I probably wouldn't want to do it now, just because I'm way too busy. And I do need convenience a lot more than I did back then. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways of eating as a vegan.
That's right, including the alkaline. That there's the some folks that do the high alkaline.
That's for people who don't really want to eat at all. That alkaline, I don't know. There's 5 things on the list that you can eat. That's a very, very restrictive diet. But people swear by it. I would just say people need to fall into whatever eating pattern makes them happy, because there is nothing worse than being unhappy with food. You don't need that. We don't need that.
We are very happy with these greener chicken wings.
Okay.
Very happy. Very happy.
Yeah, we our goal at the Greener Kitchen, first and foremost, was to make delicious food. And my whole team, I've been working with the same team of folks for close to 10 years now. And from the beginning, we were just don't give people vegan food if it's not the most delicious food. You know what I mean? Like, just don't expose people to nasty vegan. You're doing a disservice by making nasty vegan food. Just don't do it. Just don't feed people. Just let them eat the delicious vegan food. So that was our first and foremost goal. Second goal was to make sure it was affordable, and the third goal was to make sure that it was accessible. That it was near the people who needed it, and we've been able to do all three of those things. So.
I'm trying to read the question from Michael Haney. I guess makeup is right.
Oh, he's asking, what is it made out of? Is it like tempeh?
Oh, yes. What is the chicken made out of? Chicken.
Wait, he said my makeup is very nice and well appointed. What is it made of? Since much makeup is from animal products.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the chicken.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we've come a long way, Michael. With cosmetics. Nowadays, it's not so much about the cosmetics being made from animals as it is being tested on animals, and so that is a big concern. There are some cosmetic pigments like the cochineal. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it is made from a bug, from the abdomen of a bug. It's a red tint. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's red number 40 or something. But other than that, I just make sure that it is cruelty-free, meaning that it wasn't tested on animals, and that's.
Yes. There are a lot of cruelty-free products out there. You can find so much now, again, as opposed to 20 years ago.
Everything was harder.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm from unhealthy to eating healthy. Yeah. Great.
Well, fish is not healthy. I hate to break it to you, but the way our oceans are set up,
yes,
you are going to be definitely ingesting a lot of heavy metals and other toxins that pass through, the marine animals into their bodies from the water. Right. And then especially if you're eating fish that eat other fish, like tuna, like salmon, now those have, exponentially more heavy metals in them. And then even if you're dealing with the farmed fish, which a lot of people are, because our oceans are so polluted. Dang, okay, my
Brenda.
Well, no, I will tell you as a testimony, when I originally went vegan, and then I was training a lot, and I wanted to talk about that as well. I had these personal trainers like, you got to eat some protein, you got to eat some fish, you need more protein, and I'm like, okay. So when I would eat fish, and when I do eat fish, I after not eating it for a while, I would really physically, I would wake up the next morning, my face would be swollen. I tried lobster after a long break of never eating it. And I woke up the next morning, my mother was like, do you have a cold? I'm talking to her. I'm like, I couldn't figure out what it was. My rib area would be sore. My whole body would feel like someone beat me up. And I recognized after a while that it was the fish. And like lobster, I completely have allergic reactions after not being away from it so long. So that is a testimony to say that my body had gotten adjusted to not absorbing those toxins. And then when I reintroduced them, I reacted as if, I'd been stung by something. So what do you say to those out there that feel like we need all this protein to be, to build muscle? There's a lot of vegan trainers out there that I see online that are very muscular, but how do you respond to that?
Well, first and foremost, where do people think protein comes from? Like, protein doesn't start in the animal. Protein starts in what the animal is eating, right? So all of the animals that we eat, for the most part, are vegans. And where do they get their protein? Where do cows get their protein? Where do pigs get their protein? Where do gorillas or elephants or, any of these other huge animals, rhinoceroses, where do they get their protein? They get it from the plants. So basically, the animals eat the plants and then the humans eat the animals. So we're filtering our nutrients through these animals' flesh. You don't have to. You don't need to. All of the sources of protein that we need are right in the plant kingdom. Now we can choose to eat whatever. We can eat, paper bags and and crushed glass. I mean, we probably shouldn't, but like we can eat anything. And our bodies will probably find a way to pull some kind of nutrients out of it because that's what they do. But I mean, go to the source. I mean, whenever we are having health issues, right? And we go to the doctor, what's the first thing the doctor says? Oh, eat more fruits and vegetables. There's a reason for that. The fruits and vegetables are healthier, right? And now we have all this huge body of evidence, and I'm connected with a lot of physicians, like actual medical doctors who promote the plant-based diet for health. And a lot of doctors are starting to really be brave and to come out and say, look, I cannot in good conscience do medicine the way that I've been doing medicine. They see the connection between the foods that we're eating and, these different food related diseases, and they can't not promote plant-based eating anymore. And so they are. And they're saying, look, everything you need is right in the plant kingdom. There's no reason why we have to, even for folks who are like doing weight training and like building muscle and that kind of thing, you can still increase, your hemp protein or, soy protein or whatever, and get the same results. And there are quite a few vegan bodybuilders that, prove that you do not have to eat animal flesh in order to have a lot of muscle mass.
But for like those of us, because I'm pescatarian 4 years, so I still find myself buying the fish, like you get at Sam's Club, BJ's, and I'm so concerned about it lately because I swear the fish like falls apart in the water, and isn't that like weird? Like you soak your fish. Doesn't seem like really soft. You may not know. But.
Well, I haven't eaten fish in a quarter of a century. But it's just it's not good. It's not good. I mean, I know what's in the water, and I'm very concerned. And even for people who are eating farmed fish, these, they're being farmed in these huge vats with like tens of thousands of fish flopping around in each other's poop. And, so there's all kinds of bacteria and like even the so-called wild caught fish that's supposed to be caught in Alaska or whatever, like the oceans are polluted. And not only that, but these fisheries are actually depleting the oceans of fish, which is a huge issue because did you know that 80% of our oxygen is made in the oceans? We think it's trees. I've always been taught that the rainforest is where it's the algae in the oceans that are producing most of the oxygen that we're breathing. And as we're slowly collapsing the oceans by pulling all of the marine life out of the oceans with these huge fishing trawlers, we are endangering our own lives. That's the thing that doesn't make any sense about industrialized food systems. We're putting our own lives in danger trying to make money. It doesn't make any sense. Like we're collapsing the oceans right now.
Well, that's why the rich folks are trying to go to space because,
Well, they can go on ahead and go. Because
exploration is at a peak because there's not going to be any oxygen, I guess. But
but look at the wave of this tilapia fish that has come in. Like I've never heard of it for like 35 years, and all of a sudden this tilapia is on the market. Everyone's raving about it. They're selling it at all these different locations, and I'm like, it's a weird fish to me. that I've
Have
never
you
heard.
do you know where they're saying it's sourced from? Like, is it farmed or wild caught? It's probably farmed,
Mm.
which is look into it. Look into it. I mean, you know, because the thing about being pescatarian is that you cut out all those other meats, which means that you probably eat more fish than you would have been eating if you were eating other meats, right? Which means that you're getting even more of those, you know, harmful substances than you would have been eating if you were eating a variety of different meats. So that's one of the concerns that I have for people who say that they're pescatarian. Is that your fish intake is probably higher than it would have been otherwise. So you know, and look, check out Afro Vegan Society. I'm not no pressure or anything, but you know, we are helping Black folks go vegan, and you know, that's why we exist. It is the reason why my organization exists, because there's such a need for resources and support. And I'm talking about a whole full spectrum of support, from, you know, education and information that you may not have had, to engagement. You can join the Facebook group and like interact with other people. You can post pictures of your, you know, your amazing or not so amazing vegan dish, and we just gonna all gas you up. Girl, I'm sure it was good. It looks great. Even if it doesn't, we don't care. We just gonna support you. And but also videos, panel discussions. There's multiple different videos with doctors who are, you know, medical professionals who are putting like the real information out there about everything from diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, you know, all of it, high blood pressure, all of it, different kinds of cancers and stuff like that. Like, we are a resource. So just check it out. It's no pressure whatsoever, but if you want to try it, we can help.
Yeah, it's really great information on there. There are a lot of there's vegan soul sisters on Facebook. There's groups like that. There's, you know, the Afro Vegan Society. There's so many resources out there, and I think that it's really important that we start eating healthier, just as a whole, as a culture. So I did want to ask, like, why do you think people get so offended? Like, I really think people get offended when you say, well, I'm vegan. It's like, oh, you know, like, oh, like you're too, you know, like you're just too good. Like, what is that about? And again, it's in our culture. We are the highest rate of people converting to veganism, but it is just so offensive to tell people that you don't eat meat.
Yeah.
I
I think it's not personal. I think that that's their own journey, and that we, you know, vegans can't take it personal when like we are either attacked or just questioned, or, you know, contradicted or whatever, as soon as people find out that we're vegan. Because I think it probably says more about how they feel about their own diet and about, you know, how they're living their own life, and they're like projecting that out onto us, especially if you're not obnoxious about it. I mean, if you're one of those vegans that walks into a room and is like, what you eating that, you know, like one of those, then you deserve whatever you get. But
I don't do that, Nicole.
No, I can't believe
I don't do it. I don't do it. I really don't. No, honestly.
I mean, I used to do it like in my youth, but you know, I got older and wiser, and now I don't even tell people. And usually I just get outed by somebody else who's just like, "Oh, here's Brenda the vegan," you know, and I'm just like, "Really? That's how we're gonna start this off?" Okay.
Here's Brenda. That's it. That's right. It's like everyone's just angry at you because you're vegan. It's too much aggression. Too many animals. Too aggressive.
A lot of your fast food restaurants are trying to jump on, you know, the kind of like the bandwagon. So I think that's great. I wish there were more drive-through options versus Burger King. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of the places you kind of have to get out of your car, and for like people like myself that just sometimes just don't feel like it.
Right.
The
right.
drive-through is just works so much better. So do you
Yeah.
think one day you'll open up a location with a drive-through?
Whew. I would love that. I would love that. You know what I think is going to happen is that some of the vegan drive-throughs are going to make their way here. There's Amy's out in Northern California. Amy's has a drive-through that is just like a Burger King or a McDonald's. Like you get your burger and fries and milkshake and everything like that. There's a couple of other ones too that I'm not quite familiar with, but I think that they're going to come here. I think a lot of vegan restaurants have been coming to Baltimore because of the work that people like me and Naja and, other folks who have just been out in the streets, like just getting the information out there about veganism and about plant-based eating. And it's catching on. I think it's catching on everywhere, like wildfire. And we just, we just need to stay positive and set a good example. I do. I think that's the way.
Now.
Say again.
Our vegan ice cream shop in Baltimore now.
We do. Oh, you mean cashew? Cashew. Yeah. Love me some cashew.
We need an ice cream truck now, Brenda. We need a truck to come around to have vegan ice cream because nothing frustrates me more. I need some soft serve vegan ice cream.
I've been thinking about getting the soft serve machine in the Greener Kitchen in the summer. Yeah, but it's not a truck. You still got to come to us.
That's okay.
I ain't finna drive around Baltimore. I'm not doing it. I'm doing enough.
So tell us about putting the Greener Kitchen in the neighborhood that you put it in. What made you decide to put it there, and how did that work?
Yeah, it's interesting, having it in Pigtown with the history of Pigtown, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, Pigtown, the main street, which is Washington Boulevard, where we're located, was actually the street where they would run the pigs. So they would take the pigs from the train, like at the B&O, where the trains come in, and then they would run them down Main Street to the slaughterhouses. And that's why they call it Pigtown. And so when an opportunity came up to have, to have the Greener Kitchen there, I thought, wow, wouldn't this be awesome, to be able to take something like that, a history like that, and bring, plant-based options into the community. It's 60+% Black, low income community. And, it definitely is needed and necessary in that community. We've connected with a lot of great people from the neighborhood who now, a few of the people who we've connected with, they thought that they were going into the chicken place next door and just walked in to the Greener Kitchen by mistake. And we were like, whoa, come here. We got chicken too. And they tasted the food. Yeah. They tasted the food. They liked it. And they were like, so this isn't even meat? Like, and we were like, no. And they were like, I might as well eat this. And they've been coming back ever since. And so, just connecting with people on that level, we make delicious food. You like the way that food tastes. It's not even about vegan, not vegan meat. It's just about, this is really delicious food and I love it. And so, and it means a lot to me to be able to have a vegan place. We even have like a pulled barbecue sandwich. Of course, we had to do, like we have cold cut. We had to do we had to represent, it's being in Pigtown. So yeah. It's an interesting experience. And, I would love to have the Greener Kitchens in other cities, in other communities where it's needed, and just really have this be like a whole movement.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, we do need a movement. I feel like Slutty Vegan.
I love Slutty Vegan.
Yeah, they're spreading and going in different places. So we're hoping to see more Greener Kitchens with cold cuts. That's important. I love to have the access to cold cuts and put it in salads and sandwiches. So thank you for all that you're doing. You're doing so much. I don't know how you do it all. Hopefully you're resting.
Well, I could rest more. I could certainly rest more. So yeah, but yeah, it's a lot. And thank you for having me on and spotlighting what I'm doing and what the rest of my team is doing, because again, I don't have a lot of Black folks who interview me. Like it's mostly like, white animal rights activists or, vegan activists who are really interested in my work. And it's nice to have.
I was excited when you said yes. I'm going to tell you. I was like, ooh, should I ask her? I'm going to ask her. She seems so busy. Maybe she won't. Maybe she will. Yeah, she did.
Oh, I am honored.
Yes.
Really.
Thank you. Because I know you are very, very busy. Nicole, did you have any questions?
No, I'm going to come back on Friday for more wings.
Uh-oh.
And fries. The loaded fries next time.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we fixed that issue. Oh, we fixed it. As soon as I got off the phone, I got right back on the phone and was like, we need to fix this.
Yeah, I had to call her and say, I can't order the loaded fries. Like, I know you wanted them, Nicole, but I'm like, I couldn't find them. So apparently they were not correctly on the menu. So she's corrected that. And I'll be able to order for you next time. Maybe I'll order them for you.
Friday.
Well, thank you for joining us. We did talk about health. I know on the 29th, we're going to have like our New Year's show. We're going to be talking to personal trainer James Lewis, who is big on health and big on, not eating a lot of meats or any meat at all, really. And then Kavette Kane, who's going to be doing some financial, spiritual health. So that's important. But next week, we're going to have Tim Adams, who is running for comptroller for the state of Maryland as well. So make sure you all tune in. He could be the first Black comptroller of the state of Maryland. But we want to thank Brenda for her time. We want to thank you for your wonderful food. I'm going to dig in when we get off here. But cheers to you. You guys make sure you check out the Vegan Soul Society. I'm going to put that
Afro Vegan Society.
Afro Vegan. Let me just put it.
I like that Vegan Soul Society. I like it.
Afro Vegan Society, right? And then the Vegan Soul Fest is coming in 2022. Do you know what date? Do you have any dates you're looking at?
Right now, we know it's going to be in August.
Okay.
But other than that, we're not quite.
It's awesome. You guys were busting out of BCCC. You guys were busting out of Clifton Park. So I can't wait to see what you do. It's great. And a lot of non-vegans came. And my husband's not a vegan, but he enjoys it. And make sure you check out and go on they're trying to kill us.com to download that. It is not on Netflix. And also check out the Greener Kitchen because Brenda's really busy. And so thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you both so much for having me.
Thank
on the
you.
show.
And I hope I'll see you Friday.
Have a great evening, everyone. Try Meatless Monday. Just try one day with no meat. Just try it.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good night.
Bye.